Hi everyone, we are from Group 5 and we are doing task 1, which is to find out how much the parents should save up for the kid up to the age of 7 in a typical Singaporean family with one kid. The family will be a typical Singaporean family consisting of 2 parents and 1 kid. We have to calculate the amount of money to save up to the day the kid turns 7 years old. The money will be used for daily basic necessities and to develop the child for the future. We will need to calculate the amount of money spent on transport which is free for the children of age 7 and below if they take public transport in Singapore. Clothes for the child, childcare services, school fees for kindergarten and primary school, furniture for the kids' room, water and electricity bill, hospital and clinic bill, milk formula and diapers. We will assume that the typical Singaporean family bought a 3-room HDB flat. Assume that the kid goes to school using the school bus for primary school. Assume that the kid goes to a Singapore government school. Assume that the kid is healthy at birth. Assume that the furniture bought for the kids' room does not spoil or get damaged until the kid reaches the age of 7. Assume that the kid only takes public transport for travelling until the age of 7. Assume that the baby plays with baby toys for 4 years. Assume that the parents bring the child to the same clinic every time. For the formula, we will let A be the amount of money for transport per year, let B be the amount of money for food per year, let C be the amount of money for clothes per year, let D be the amount of money for childcare services per year, let E be the amount of money for school fees per year, let F be the amount of money for furniture for the kids' room per year, let G be the amount of money for water and electricity bills per year, let H be the amount of money for hospital and clinic bills per year, let I be the amount of money for milk formula per year, let J be the amount of money for diapers per year. The total amount of money needed in a certain number of years equals to the total amount of money needed per year times the number of years. The total amount of money needed equals to the number of years times A plus number of years times B plus number of years times C plus number of years times D plus number of years times E plus number of years times F plus number of years times G plus number of years times H plus number of years times I plus number of years times J.
As what we can see in the graph, the top one item which requires the most amount of money is childcare services, followed by price of food. Water and electricity bills is the top 3. Bar graph can help us compare data between different categories. The amount of money spent on childcare services is the highest, accounting for 70.6% of the total amount of money needed to save for the kid. The second largest cost is the price of food, which accounts for 12.2% of the total amount of money, and the third largest cost is the water and electricity bills, which accounts for 6.6% of the total amount of money. The pie chart shows us the percentage of each category, which makes it easier to determine the most expensive cost among these factors. Parents will need to pay $88,676.25 for the childcare services, $15,360 for the price of food, and $8,232 for the water and electricity bills. The table shows us the detail of each factor. Here are some our important assumptions. Assume that the cost of hospital bills, food, clothes, water and electricity bills, and childcare services for the kid are the same every year. The formula represented earlier on has a limitation and it only considers the factors that we feel are the most important and not all the factors needed to raise for the kid. Assume that the amount of money needed is to raise the kid until the day he or she turns 7 years old. Assume that the amount of food that the kid can eat is the same from 3 to 7 years old. The kid goes to childcare from the age of 1 year 6 months to 6 years 11 months at my primary ward preschool. Here are our solution. We use substitution method to solve the problem. We substitute the different factors into different letters, so the total amount of money is 7a plus 5b plus 7c plus bracket 5 plus 5 over 12 bracket d plus 2e for kindergarten plus 1 for primary school plus 7f plus 7g plus 7h plus 2i plus 2k. As referred to our table, we substitute the values into the equation above. So the total amount of money needed is 0 plus 1360 plus 2800 plus 88676.25 plus 3840 plus 3174.50 plus 8232 plus 1661 plus 1773.12 plus 846.72 equals to 126,363.47. Hence, for a typical Singaporean family with a kid, the parents should save 126,363 and 47 cents for the kid up to the age of 7. There are some limitations in our data. First of all, we cannot calculate the pricing changes for most factors as we did not take into account inflation and deflation since it's very hard to calculate it. We also did not take into account that the kid will eat more when he or she gets older, and it's very hard to estimate the amount of money needed for a meal that will satisfy the kid's hunger as he or she gets older. Thus, we only assume that the kid is $8 worth of food per day.
Additionally, it is very hard to estimate how much clothes the kid will wear and how expensive the clothes bought for the kid are. Thus, we use the internet to find the average cost the parents spend on the kid for clothes, and we found that the average amount of money spent on clothes per month is $33.30. We make use of this average for our data collecting. We are also not able to calculate the increase in fees for childcare over the period of time as the website does not have enough information. We had the constraint of not being able to find out how many times the kid will get sick as there is no possible way. Thus, we assume that the kid will get sick 7 times in a year. We set aside money for the clinic bills so that the kid can go to the clinic 7 times in a year. Since hospital bills have a lot of fees, they are very hard to calculate. Hence, we only calculated the price of the kid being born in the hospital for the hospital bills and assumed that the kid is healthy from the age of 0 to 7 years old and does not need to go to the hospital again. The fees may be totally different as the brands chosen differ a lot in the cost, and this may make our data less reliable. Our real-world solution is presented as the total amount of money needed for the sum of transportation, the price of food, cost of clothes, cost of furniture for the kids' room, water and electricity bills, cost of milk formula, and cost of diapers for 7 years equals $0 plus $15,360 plus $2,800 plus $3,174.50 plus $8,232 plus $1,773 plus $846.72 plus equals to $32,186.22. The total amount of money needed for education equals $88,676.25 plus $3,840 equals to $92,516.25. The total amount of money needed for health is $1,661. Thus, the total amount of money needed to raise up a 7-year-old kid equals $32,186.22 plus $92,516.25 plus $1,661, which equals to $126,363.47. When we look back, we feel that we do not have adequate analysis of the data, as there are still some areas where parents should save the money for the kid, such as snacks or their daily necessities. Throughout the 7 years, accidents may also happen, but we do not account for that. Additionally, it would be very hard and complicated to account for all the areas where the child needs money, as every child has different needs and necessities. We also did not account for enrichment outside of childcare, as not every child has enrichment. We also could not take into account the rise or drop of living expenses, as it is unpredictable. We looked back and we reviewed our assumptions made. Firstly, we believe that we can answer the questions first, thinking about our assumptions at the same time. This can make our assumptions match our answers. Secondly, we could have also taken into account more factors, such as pocket money or birthday parties. Thirdly, we could have made use of more types of representations that shows us data. For example, we can make use of more pictures, graphs, and tables. Lastly, after we do the calculations, we could have done some interviews with some families with a 7-year-old kid to make sure that our data and final answer is accurate.
For the extended task, we have chosen to compare our data with Johor. Starting with the graph, we can see that the number one item which requires the most amount of money is childcare services, followed by the price of food, water, and electricity bills. Next, the pie chart. The chart shows that childcare services takes up a total of 40.8% of the total amount of money that the child uses. The price of food and water and electricity bills takes up 21.8% and 16.2% respectively. Lastly, the table shows that childcare services requires $13,080.92 in total. The price of food requires $6,976.49, and the price of water and electricity bills requires $5,202.68, all in Singapore dollars. Here are some of the assumptions that we made for this task. We assume that the child is Malaysian, assume that the kid uses the same amount of water and electricity bills during these 7 years, and assume that the kid only consumes milk formula in the first 2 years. When comparing these two sets of data, we found that 73.7% of the total amount of money needs to be spent on childcare services and school fees for the Singaporean kid. On the other hand, Johor families spend around 40.9% of the total amount of money on childcare services and school fees, as the education fees in Malaysia are cheaper than Singapore. This is because Malaysia's education system is heavily subsidized by the government, which means that it will not cost any school fee, and the textbooks are also free of charge. Singapore families also do not need to pay for a kid for public transport, while Malaysian families need to pay money for a kid for public transport, which costs $1,660.40 for a kid to take public transport until he is 7 years old. This is because the Malaysian public transport infrastructure is not profitable and there is no direct government funding for infrastructure. Hence, the kid must pay money for public transport. However, in Singapore, where the government funds the construction of public transportation, the kid will have free public transport. The total amount of money that needs to be saved to raise a 7-year-old kid in Singapore is about $126,363. This is about 4 times of that in Johor, which is $32,032. The main reason is because the education fees are really expensive in Singapore. Additionally, there are a lot of things that are very expensive in Singapore, such as the price of food. This is because Singapore lacks resources, and Singapore has to import food from other countries, which also causes inflation. Thank you.